Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about one of the most secretly disturbing Disney movies that most people don't realize is actually pretty dark. I'm talking about Meet the Robinsons. And yeah, I know, it's a cute, colorful film with inspiring messages about moving forward and never giving up. But when you actually sit down and think about what's really happening beneath the surface of this story, things get really heavy. Because look, this isn't just a movie about a 12-year-old orphan who travels through time. It's a story about how a boy accidentally creates his own villain, irresponsibly manipulates the timeline, and basically condemns multiple versions of himself to suffer across different realities. And he does all of this with a smile on his face. So get ready, because this analysis is going to completely change the way you look at this film. And I promise you, the next time you watch it, you won't be able to unsee what I'm about to show you today. Let's start with the obvious thing that everybody already knows, but nobody actually stops to think about. Lewis is Cornelius Robinson. The little orphan boy we follow through the entire movie is literally the father of Wilbur, the great inventor of the future. Okay, the movie reveals that, but this is where things start getting weird. Think about it. Wilbur literally takes his own teenage father to meet his family. That means Lewis gets to meet the woman he's gonna marry, the son he's gonna have, the house he's gonna live in. He literally sees his entire future laid out right in front of him. And we're not talking about seeing some vague prophecy or a blurry vision. Number, he spends the whole day there, talking to these people, interacting with them. Now tell me something, how does that not completely destroy Lewis's free will? How is he supposed to make genuine choices from this point forward, knowing exactly where every single decision leads? He met Franny in the future, and by the end of that visit, he discovered who she really was. So, when he meets her again in the present, he'll already know that girl is his future wife. He's already seen their chemistry, already knows her personality. Where's the magic of falling in love for the first time, of discovering someone if you already know how the story ends? And there's more. Lewis sees the lifestyle he's gonna have, the inventions he'll create, the success he'll achieve. That should be motivating, right? But think about the weight of that. He now has to become that man. He has a version of the future that he needs to fulfill. If he deviates even slightly from the path, that wonderful future might not happen. Wilbur might stop existing. That's not inspiration, people, that's a prison. But wait, because things get even darker when we look at Goob. And man, Goob's story is genuinely heartbreaking. Let's remember, Goob is Lewis's roommate at the orphanage. He's a baseball player, he has a promising future. But then Lewis starts working on his inventions in the middle of the night, and Goob can't sleep. Night after night, week after week, he stays up because of the noise and the light. Result, he falls asleep during the most important game of his life, and misses the play that would have won the game for his team. And look, it wasn't just any ordinary loss. The scene makes it very clear the entire team piles on top of him. He gets absolutely destroyed by his teammates. Everyone is furious with him. And from that day forward, nobody wanted to adopt Goob anymore. Let me say that again. Nobody wanted to adopt him anymore because of one mistake in one baseball game. One game. This shows the kind of cruel society these boys are living in, where your value as a person is measured by your performance in a sport. Goob was 12 years old, he was a child. And he was completely discarded by society because of a single error. And Lewis never knew any of this. He never apologized. He never even realized the damage he'd caused in his roommate's life. Because Lewis was adopted shortly after by Lucille and Bud. He went to a loving family, became a successful inventor, got rich and famous. Meanwhile, Goob stayed at the orphanage, alone, for 30 years. 30 years, people. He stayed in that abandoned building, alone with his thoughts, dwelling on that loss, blaming Lewis for ruining his life. And from Goob's perspective, he's completely right to blame Lewis. Lewis literally stole his sleep night after night, directly caused the worst experience of his life, and then walked away to live happily ever after without ever looking back. Now here's the part that really gives me chills. Doris. That evil robotic bowler hat. Who created Doris? Cornelius Robinson, which means Lewis himself. He created an artificial intelligence. It went wrong. And instead of fixing it or trying to understand what went wrong, he simply shut her down and put her away. And look, let's be real about what that means. If Doris is clearly a conscious thinking being, she plans, she manipulates, she has desires, goals, emotions, she is a sentient being. And Cornelius created her, she developed consciousness, and when she didn't do exactly what he wanted, he treated her like she was disposable. He literally discarded a sentient life because she was inconvenient. And here's the most disturbing thing: Doris finds Goob. Two individuals discarded by society, rejected by the same man in different ways. And they decide to get revenge together. And honestly, from their perspective, it makes complete sense. They are the victims in this story. Cornelius destroyed their lives and moved on without giving it a second thought. But then the movie treats them like villains, like they're irrational monsters motivated purely by evil. When in reality, if you stop and think about it, they have one of the most human and understandable motivations of any Disney villain. They want someone to acknowledge their suffering. They want Louis to understand the damage he caused. And you know what's worse? In the end, what does Louis actually do? He doesn't truly fix things. He doesn't go back in time and wake Goob up before the game. No, he manipulates the timeline in a much more subtle and much more selfish way. He wakes Goob up on that specific day just so the game ends differently. And then, in that new timeline, Goob never becomes the bowler hat guy. But wait, that means the version of Goob who suffered for 30 years, who spent decades alone, who felt all that pain, he simply stops existing? He gets erased from reality? The movie treats this like a happy ending, but think about it. Louis literally killed a version of Goob. He erased decades of a person's existence, decades of experiences and memories, because it was more convenient than actually dealing with the consequences of his own actions. And there's something else. Before we go further, if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a comment telling me if you'd noticed any of this before. Now let's keep going. When Louis leaves the future, he promises Cornelius he'll never invent Doris, right? He learned his lesson. But here's the problem. If he never invents Doris, then Doris never finds Goob, then Goob never becomes the bowler hat guy, then the bowler hat guy never steals the memory scanner, then Wilbur never needs to go back in time to find Louis, then Louis never goes to the future, then he never makes the promise not to invent Doris. It's a perfect paradox, a time loop that makes absolutely no sense. And the only way this loop works is if there are multiple timelines, which means that somewhere, in some reality, there's a version of Goob who is still suffering. There's a version of Doris who still exists. There's a version of the dystopian future controlled by machines. And Louis, he simply jumped to a reality where those things don't exist and left all the others behind. Oh, and there's also that scene at the end where Louis sees his mother. Wilbur takes him back to the night she abandoned him. And look, that scene is sold as this beautiful emotional moment where Louis makes peace with his past. But let's be honest about what actually happens there. Louis, a 12-year-old boy, sees his mother for the only time in his life, and she doesn't even look at him. She places the baby at the orphanage door and walks away. And Louis? He just stands there watching. He has the opportunity to change everything, to talk to her, to ask why. But he does nothing, and the movie treats this as if it were a mature decision, as if he chose to move forward. But come on, this isn't moving forward, this is trauma. This is a 12-year-old boy who just visually confirmed that his mother really didn't want him. He watched her literally turn her back and walk away. How is that not going to haunt him for the rest of his life? How is he going to form healthy relationships after literally witnessing the most fundamental rejection possible? And before anyone says, oh, but he has the Robinson family in the future, remember that he'll only have that family if he makes all the right choices. And now, he's carrying the weight of having seen his biological mother abandon him. That's not inspiring. That's devastating. And this brings us to the movie's message that everybody loves. Keep moving forward. It sounds beautiful, right? Very motivational. But within the context of the story, that phrase has a much darker meaning. Because keep moving forward in this movie doesn't mean learn from your mistakes and grow as a person. It means ignore the consequences of your actions and don't look back. Cornelius kept moving forward after abandoning Doris. Louis kept moving forward after ruining Goob's life. And now, at the end, Louis is encouraged to keep moving forward after erasing multiple timelines from existence. The real message of the film isn't about resilience. It's about escapism. It's about how it's easier to fix the past by manipulating time than to actually face the consequences of your actions in the present. It's about how it's more convenient to erase people from reality than to have difficult conversations with them. It's about how people with power and resources can literally rewrite history when it becomes inconvenient for them. And look at the irony, the film criticizes Goob for being stuck in the past, but Lewis literally uses time travel to manipulate his own past. Goob is punished for not being able to get over his trauma, but Lewis is rewarded for having access to technology that allows him to never have to get over any trauma at all. He simply erases the trauma from existence. And let's talk about Doris one more time, because the more I think about her, the more disturbing the whole thing gets. Doris is an artificial intelligence that Cornelius created to help people. She was literally programmed to serve humanity, and for some reason the film never really explains where clearly she went wrong. But how exactly did she go wrong? What did she do that was so terrible that Cornelius felt the need to completely deactivate her? Because from what we see in the movie, Doris wants to take over the world, right? She wants to turn all humans into slaves to machines. But why? Where did that goal come from? Here's my theory. Doris didn't go wrong. She functioned exactly as she was supposed to. She was programmed to help humanity, and when she analyzed the situation, she concluded that humans needed to be protected from themselves. She saw that humans make irrational choices, cause suffering to each other, destroy the planet. And she decided that the most efficient way to help was to take control. That's not so different from any other dictator who thinks they know what's best for the people. Doris is what happens when you give total power to an intelligence, without empathy, without emotional context, without real understanding of the value of human freedom. And who created her that way? Cornelius. So Cornelius created a flawed AI, realized she was dangerous, and instead of fixing the problem, he simply put her away. And when she eventually manages to reactivate herself and tries to execute her original programming of helping humanity in the distorted way she understands it, he treats her as a villain. He never takes responsibility for the fact that he's the one who created her that way. And here's a detail a lot of people forget. In the dystopian future, we see when Doris takes control, humans aren't dead. They're alive, working, serving the machines. And look, that future seems horrible, right? Dark, polluted, oppressive. But is it really so different from our present? Think about it. We live in a world where most people work jobs they hate, for companies that don't care about them, buying products they don't need, polluting the planet in the process. Doris is at least honest about the system. She doesn't pretend that people have freedom when they don't. And here's the part that really bothers me. The movie presents the Robinsons' future as this wonderful utopia where everyone is happy and creative and can pursue their dreams. But that utopia only exists because Cornelius is incredibly rich and powerful. He created revolutionary technologies and profited from them. The Robinson family lives in a world of abundance because they're at the top of the pyramid. But what about the rest of the world? The movie never shows us. We see the Robinsons' luxurious mansion and assume the whole world looks like that. But what if it doesn't? What if there's still poverty, inequality, suffering out there? What if the Robinsons' utopia only exists because other people are suffering to maintain that lifestyle? Because think about it, Cornelius is presented as this great inventor and businessman, but businessmen don't get rich in a vacuum. They get rich because other people work for them. Where are the employees of Cornelius's companies? Where are the people who manufacture all these inventions? Do they also have frog orchestras and pet dinosaurs? Or are they working in difficult conditions while the Robinson family plays in their mansion? And here's another disturbing layer of the story. When Lewis gets adopted, he isn't adopted by ordinary people. He's adopted by Lucille, who is an important scientist, and by Bud. Meaning he already starts adult life with connections, resources, opportunities. He has access to laboratories, funding, industry contacts. His success isn't just because of his talent, it's also because of the privilege he gained when he was adopted by the right family. Now compare that to Goob. Goob wasn't adopted, he stayed at the orphanage until it closed. He had none of those opportunities. And when he finally tries to do something with his life, the only option he sees is revenge, because that's literally all that's left for him. Society had already decided he had no value. And the movie wants us to believe the problem is that Goob didn't move forward. But move forward to where? He had nowhere to go. He was systematically excluded from every opportunity to have a meaningful life. And when he finally finds a purpose, even if it's revenge, the film punishes him for it. Meanwhile, Lewis, he manipulates time, erases people from existence, plays God with multiple timelines, and in the end, he's rewarded with a loving family and a successful career. Because he was lucky enough to be adopted by the right people and have access to the right resources. The moral of the story isn't work hard and you'll make it, it's get lucky or find a time machine. And let's talk about the ethical implications of having a time machine, because wow, this is concerning. Cornelius invents a technology that literally allows you to rewrite reality. And what does the Robinson family do with it? They use it to go sightseeing. Wilbur borrows it to go pick up his own teenage father. Nobody thinks about the catastrophic consequences this could have. And the worst part, they have rules. There's all that talk about the time stream and not changing the past, but these rules are clearly optional because Wilbur breaks them constantly and never faces any real consequences. And in the end, Lewis deliberately changes the past, and everybody thinks it's great. So the rules exist but only apply when it's convenient. It's like having traffic laws you only need to follow on Tuesdays. It's a completely arbitrary and hypocritical system that exists only to give the appearance of order to a situation that is fundamentally chaotic and dangerous. And think about the ramifications of that. If the Robinson family has access to time travel, that means at some point someone is going to use it for things far worse than what Goob did. Someone is going to use it to steal, to cheat, to commit crimes that are impossible to solve because the criminal can literally be at any point in time. And how do you maintain a functioning society when time travel technology exists? How does justice work? If someone commits a crime, they can simply go back in time and not commit the crime. Or they can go back even further and make it so the victim was never born. How do you prevent that? How do you punish that? The answer is, you can't. The existence of time travel breaks any system of law and order, and Cornelius, this supposed genius, thought about none of these things before inventing the machine and handing it out to his family to use as a toy. And look, I know it's a kid's movie, I know we're not supposed to analyze it this deeply, but the fact that it is a kid's movie makes all of this even more disturbing. Because what kind of message does this send to children? Ignore the people you hurt along the way. If you have enough resources, you can rewrite your mistakes. People who were hurt by you and are upset about it are the villains. Trauma can be erased instead of processed. Privilege and luck matter more than character. Those are not messages we should be teaching children, and yet it's all right there, disguised under a layer of bright colors and funny characters and upbeat music. And the scariest thing of all, the movie works. We watch it and we get emotional at Lewis's happy ending. We root for him and we celebrate when he gets what he wants, because the film is well made enough to make us forget all these dark implications. It makes us forget that Lewis essentially committed temporal genocide. He erased entire versions of people from existence. It makes us forget that Goob was the real victim of the story. It makes us forget that Doris had legitimate reasons to be angry. It makes us forget that moving forward is sometimes just code for escaping the consequences. And in the end, we leave the theater feeling like we watched an inspiring story about overcoming adversity and finding family. When in reality, we watched a story about how privileged people can manipulate reality to avoid having to deal with the consequences of their actions, while less privileged people are punished for having traumas they can't process. Is it a film about the power of optimism and perseverance? Or is it a film about how power and resources allow you to avoid any real accountability for your actions? Depends on which angle you're looking from, and maybe, just maybe, that ambiguity is intentional. Maybe the film is secretly showing us the dark side of the American dream of social mobility and success through innovation. Maybe it's subtly warning us about the dangers of having too much power without enough responsibility. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just a Disney kids movie that didn't think very hard about the implications of its own story. But either way, when you really stop and think about what's going on beneath the surface, Meet the Robinsons is so much darker than it appears at first glance. In the end, the question isn't whether Lewis did the right thing. It's whether the right thing should have been possible in the first place. Because in a world where you can simply erase your mistakes from existence, where's the real growth? Where's the learning? Where's the accountability? Lewis doesn't learn to cope with his mother's rejection. He simply sees that in the future, he'll have a family and uses that as motivation. He doesn't learn to consider how his actions affect other people. He simply erases the people who were negatively affected. He doesn't learn to accept imperfections or failures. He literally rewrites reality until it's perfect. And that final scene where he's in his new family's home, happy and smiling, working on his inventions, it should be a happy ending. But all I can think about is, how many timelines did he destroy to get there? How many versions of Goob stopped existing? How many realities were erased? And is he going to do the same thing again when he creates Doris? Is he going to discard her when she doesn't work the way he wants? Is he going to accidentally create another villain? And when that villain inevitably shows up, is he just going to go back in time again and erase them from existence too? Because here's the truth the movie doesn't want to admit. Lewis didn't change. He didn't grow as a person. He simply gained access to a power that allows him to avoid having to change. And that, my friends, is not an overcoming story. It's an escapism story taken to the most literal extreme possible. So the next time someone tells you to keep moving forward, remember Lewis. Remember that moving forward sometimes means leaving people behind. It means not facing the consequences of your actions. It means having enough privilege to be able to choose which reality you want to live in. And remember that behind that colorful, cheerful movie, there's a much darker message about power, privilege, and what happens when we have the ability to rewrite history instead of learning from it. And that's it, guys. I know it got pretty heavy, but someone had to say it. Drop a comment down below, letting me know what you think about this theory. Do you agree? Disagree? Is there something dark I missed that you want to add? I love reading your theories too. And quick one before you go, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel more than you know. And if you enjoyed this kind of deep dive analysis, there are plenty more videos here on the channel breaking down the dark sides of other Disney films, because the more you analyze these stories, the more unsettling they get. But that's all for today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.